Okay, so the next example I'm going to go through is proportional stratified sampling. So I'm going to go through on my share out folder here under session 2. I am going to go through the example in this PowerPoint here, the very last one, which is example 8.3 in that lesson. And it's the Sears credit card holders from small town. Okay, and we're going to do a proportional stratified sample on. So here's the file to go get, stratified.xls. So on the share out here, that is in the data folder for lesson 2. So lesson 2 data stratified.xls. So here it is. Okay. And what we want to do is we want to select 100 people proportionally out of all of the customers. There turns out that there are, let's see here, 1,000 of them total. We want to choose 100 of them. We want to choose them in proportion to how many are in each age category. Okay, so we have decided on 3 age categories. Here they are. Between 18 and 30 is the first one. 31 to 62 is the next one. 63 to 80 is the third one. These categories, or the people that fall within them, we could call them subpopulations, or we could call them strata. Okay, so our first stratum is between 18 and 30. Now, in a test or on a test, I would always define for you what the strata will be. And then you just need to go split up the data into those strata and then sample from each of those strata. So how do we do that? So let's start that up here. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to need to look at each person's age, and we're going to ask which category did they land in. Now we can get Excel to ask that question with an if statement. So we ask if this 49-year-old, in this case, or if the item in B11 is less than, so let's start with our first category, if they're less than 31. Where should we put them? That's true, we should put them in stratum 1. Okay, notice I locked the B7. I always want to reference that 31. So very first test, if this person is less than 31, they belong in the first category. Okay, so give them a strata number 1. If not, well, we have to check now. If not, they could either be in stratum 2 or 3. Okay, so what we need to do is actually another if test within our if test. So now, next thing we're going to check, well, are they in strata 2? If they are, then this age here should be less than 63. So we've already checked whether or not they're in the first stratum. If they're not, then let's check if they're in the second stratum. They would be if they're less than 63. Don't forget to lock this 63 as well. Now, if that's not true, what's left over? They would be in stratum 3. Now, this if statement, again, you do your test first. If it turns out to be true, what's your result? Well, if it's true, you want to put them in stratum 2. And otherwise, that's the thing you include last. Otherwise, you want to give them stratum number 3. Close bracket, end that last if statement, and then end the first one with another bracket. Hit enter and check your result. So the 49-year-old, good, is indeed in stratum 2. We're happy with that. And copy this down by just double-clicking. Okay. And if you look down, just look at a couple of the ages. So the 36-year-old, yes, is in stratum 2. A 63-year-old, yes, is in stratum 3. 25-year-old, good, they would land in stratum number 1. Okay. Now, there would be a quicker way, or what you could call a simpler way to figure out which stratum each customer is in. What we could have first done, we could have actually just gone and sorted the customers by their ages here. Okay, if we were to do that, sort by their age, then click OK, we could have just gone and looked and said, okay, all the way up to 30, these guys here, sorry, I went too far, these guys are all in stratum 1. Could have done that and just copied them here and pasted them, so just put them here and then done the same for the next two. So copy and paste. So there's my stratum 1. You go find your stratum 2 folk, which are below, starting at age 31 and onwards, all the way through to 62. You go copy those guys, and you paste them next. Okay, so you just go copy, paste the next group, paste all their data. Now this works in this group. There's 1,000 people that actually, believe it or not that big. That being said, if it were bigger than that, that manual way is not the best. So we're better to do what we did, use this if statement to first define which stratum they should land in, and then after that, there is an option in add-ins under Stat Pro, and it is called unstacking the data. Okay, so again, go into add-ins. So once you've got your stratum numbers with your if statement, you've pasted that the whole way down, all the way to the bottom here, for all 1,000 customers, to define which stratum they're in. Then you go to add-ins, Stat Pro, data utilities, and unstack variables. Okay, and make sure they're all highlighted, which they are in this case. Click OK, and you want to unstack them by their strata. Okay, click OK. That's going to separate them out into stratus 1, 2, and 3, and then from there you can have it return what you care about are their ages. So that will pull out their ages for each category. You can also choose to include the customer number if you want. We're going to do that just for the sake of it, and let's do that just off to the right here. Let's put that here. Okay, so here are our 3 categories. Now, I am just going to color code them. First guys I'm going to make red, next guys I'm going to make blue, and the last ones I'm going to make green. This isn't necessary. This is just visually for your guys' benefit. You can see which stratum is which here. Okay, so this first one is my stratum 1 in red. Stratum 3 is in green. Stratum 2 is in blue. So I'm just color coding these guys as well. Okay, so there they are. So now, what I need to do, or what I want to do, back to our PowerPoint slides here, what I want to do is proportionally sample 100 people out of all of the credit card holders in all of the population. Okay, so I want to sample 100 of them out of the 1,000, and I want to do this proportionally. How might I proceed? Well, the first thing I need to do is go figure out how many people there are in each age group. I can do that with the count. So I do equals count and start with the number. So don't include the header. Count all the way down to the bottom of the numbers here. So E11 to E142 I have for the first group. That counts how many customers are in stratum 1. And I repeat this process for the next guys. Again, don't include the title. Okay. Big category. So G11 through to G776. Okay. There are 766 of them in the next category, so that's a lot of them. The final one equals count of all of the customers in category 3. That's the oldest customers. Okay. And there we go. I11 through to I112 for that one. Again, don't include the header, start at that 4. Okay, and we're just color coding them just because here. Okay, now let's figure out the proportion of customers in each category then. So to do that nice and easy, this 132 is divided by the 1,000. So our first category, the 18 to 30-year-olds make up roughly 13% of the overall population. So I just divided by the C2. I'm going to lock that so I can just copy this formula down. Okay, so we got 13%, 76%, and 102. We could have guessed that in this case because our population is out of 1,000. Now, the number to sample, if you will, from each group, we want to sample in proportion to the proportion of the population they occupy. Okay, so what we want to do here, we want to sample 13%, if you will, of the 100. So out of the 100 people we sample, we want roughly 13% of them to be from the first category. Now lock that 100. So then, again, you can copy this formula down. Okay, so what you get 13.2 people. Now, one problem with that, you can't have 0.2 of a person. So one more thing you can add to this formula, or you can manually do it later, but I like to do it all in one. Include the round function. Equals round that number, comma 0, so round it to 0 decimal places. Okay. And then copy that down here. Nice and easy. I'm just going to color code again. You have to do that. Just makes it nice to look at these numbers. Okay, so we're going to sample 13 people from the first group, 77 from the next, 33 from the next, and just double check, make sure that adds to your 100, which you wanted, and it does, which we're happy about. Okay, so what we have to go do is grab 13 people from the first category, 77 from the second, and 10 from the third. So there are multiple ways of doing this. Again, what you could do is you could generate random numbers for each of the categories. So for example, for this one, I'm just going to overwrite the customer number. It's not necessary to have one. So you just do equals rand, and you'd copy that the whole way down for the people in category 1 here. So that rand function, just copy that down, okay, and then go highlight all those guys, copy them, and paste just the values, okay, and then you go through, I'm going through this quickly. If you want to see the long way of doing this, check out my simple random sample video. I stepped through this a little bit slower. So anyways, I copied all these numbers and then I pasted special them to lock the random numbers, and then finally I sort those numbers, sort them by the random number, good, and then grab, in this case, the first 13. Okay, something happened here with the ages, I'm sorry, there we go. Okay, so now we're ready to go sort them. Okay, I overrode first, or the second column with the first set of numbers. Okay, so sort by the random numbers. Okay, and one more thing while I'm at it here, sorry guys. When I sorted, I should sort, include the header here. There we go. Now we're at the right set here. So we just go count out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So these guys here, they would be my samples from my first group. Okay, this is not so bad yet again if I have a fairly small group, if you will. Okay, so here is my sample of ages from my first group. I did this. It's a simple random sample. I generated random numbers to sort them and grab the first 13. Now that's not so bad for the first group, so let's just stick with that for the first group. Now I'll show you something slightly different for the second group. So another way to sample, let's say in this case 77 out of the total of 766 customers in this category, I would use the Stat Pro add-in option here. So Stat Pro, Statistical Inference, Random Sample, okay, sorry, and Generate Random Sample, and I want to sample out of the second customers here. Okay. There they all are. Okay. And I want to do one sample, in this case of size 77, because that was the size I determined before. Click OK, and let's put that over here. Okay, so let's go paste this guy here. Good. And let's call this sample 2, or strata 2, if you will. Okay. Now, it reminds us here that these are the index numbers for these members in the sample. So what we want to be careful of here, that tells us we want to grab person, customer, or index number 126, or the 126th person in this category. So what we have to be careful of, we actually have to use a Vlookup and go get that. And one more complication here. I'm going to make new columns here. I'm going to overwrite the customer numbers, which again aren't necessary, and replace them instead here with index numbers. So these were the customer numbers from before. What I actually want to do is figure out where the 126th person is in this category. So what I did was I just did 1 and 2, pasted that down, and I'm looking now for the 126th person in that group. So there they are. Not in the customer numbers, but within that one group. So there they are. Okay. And so when I'm doing my Vlookup here, I'm looking at the 126 within these guys. Okay, go highlight all of them. You could use Control-Shift down. I'm not doing that this time because I just want to be sure that I've got the right area selected. Okay, and going up here, I want to look up that 126 in that data, and I want to return in the second column, I want to return the ages. So there's 1, 2 columns highlighted, and 0 tells me that I want an exact match to that 126. And 39, that is the correct age. If you go check the 126th person here, all the way down, there they are indeed 39 years old. Okay, so that looks good. We're ready to copy that the whole way down. Good. And if we get any NAs, just delete those out of there. So that is our members that we sample. That's our 77 members from the second strata. Okay, and we're almost done here. So we need to get the members from the third stratum as well. We need to go sample 10 of them. Okay, once we're done that, then we're done. Okay, what I'm going to do as well here, just to clean this up a little bit, call this my sample. Okay, what I'm going to do is move these guys down slightly. The reason I'm doing that is to leave room for the first items. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm going to start here and grab these guys. Okay. These guys were from my first strata, the 27-year-olds, sorry, the 18 to 27-year-olds. Okay. Now, what I really want are their ages. We're going to get rid of all this information later. So here are ages for our first category that we randomly sampled, and for our second one, okay, all the way through, Control-Shift down. Those guys are from our second category. Okay, and I'm just putting a background color in those guys to make them a little prettier here. Okay. And then finally, from our last category, these guys here, I want to go sample 10 of them. Again, I'm going to use Stat Pro, statistical inference, generate random sample. Bear with me here. And I'm going to sample out of this last group. Click OK. And I want to generate a sample of size 10 as determined, and just one of them. Oh, sorry, that's meant to be a 10. Click OK. And I'm going to put that starting right here. I've got to fix these cell references afterwards. Okay, we'll clean that up afterwards. Okay, and let's put that actually right here, if you will. Click OK. So there they are. Okay, and let's move them up one here, actually 2. Okay, and again, I'm going to have to do a Vlookup on those guys, find those index numbers. I'm going to have to clean up these index numbers as well. Okay, so I'm looking for the 99th person, what their age is, which is 63, the 31st person in this group, and so on and so forth. And I'm going to use my Vlookup. So look for that 99. I'm looking for that in these guys here. Okay, block those cells. Return the item in column 2 and look for an exact match. Okay. Now notice here, what's actually preferable is to reference the cells themselves instead of having it named. The name data pops up a lot, but then sometimes we get problems with that later. So we're going to look at these cells later and see what happens. Back to this guy. Okay, so we're going to look up in the third class here, or the third stratum. We're going to look for this 99 out of those guys, return what's in the second column, which is their ages, and look for an exact match to that. And 63 is indeed what we were looking for. Okay, highlight that light green. Get rid of the borders for now. Okay, and then copy that whole way down. Good. So there we go. Get rid of everything at the bottom here. Okay. Good. So there is our sample from the last group. Okay. Good. So that's those guys. Now back to these guys. Let's look again at these guys. Let's Vlookup data. Okay, so I'm going to use my actual cell references. It likes to name these data, which is a little bit dangerous here. So I want to go from G11, lock that, all the way down. I'm going to do this manually. So lock that and go down to, in this case, all the way down. This is a really big group. Okay. Down to H776. Okay. So G11 through to H776. Lock that. Lock that. That's a little bit safer. We're going to copy that formula down. Okay, we're back to our 39, which is good. Okay, do that for all of these guys. It's nice if you color code here, it's easy to see which group you're in. Okay, so here are all of our people. Let's just get rid of this column now. So here's our sample. Oop. Okay, be careful when you do that. Sorry, we need those references. Okay, so here is our group that makes up our proportional sample. Here's our people from the first stratum. There are 13 of them. Here's our 77 from the second stratum. And there are the remaining 10 of them from the third stratum. Okay, and that is how you do the proportional stratified sampling when the strata have been defined for you. Okay.